Create suspense. Those who love to watch movies or read books know that a good story always has to have a conflict and a plot. These two elements turn a good presentation into a roller coaster ride that keeps listeners/viewers on the edge of their seats, asking themselves, what will happen next? There are several devices that can increase the level of suspense in your story. One way is to tell the story chronologically and build up to a climactic conclusion. Another way is to plop the viewer/listener right in the middle of the action and then go backward in time to reveal how it all occurred. Show, don't tell. Instead of telling your audience about a certain event in a story, try showing them by transporting them to a scene. Whenever you deliver a story, use scene-by-scene construction of events and dialogue instead of narration. Build up to a star moment. Similar to a climax, a star moment is a something they'll always remember, event that is so dramatic your audience will talk about it weeks later. According to presentation expert Nancy Duarte in her book Resonate, this can come in the form of a dramatization, provocative images, or shocking statistics. Bill Gates used this technique in a 2009 TED Talk when he made the case for increasing investment in eradicating malaria. He presented statistics to show how serious the problem was and then surprised the room by opening a jar full of mosquitoes, saying, "There's no reason only poor people should have the experience." End with a positive takeaway. After analyzing 200 of the best TED Talks, presentation expert Akash Korea found that the most effective presentations not only had a conflict and a climax, but also a positive resolution. On the path to triumph, most characters in these stories received what he calls a spark, a key piece of wisdom or advice that helped them overcome their obstacles and change for the better. What specific techniques to follow and words to use? From a storytelling perspective, the way to keep an audience's attention is to continually increase the tension in the story. To create and sustain the tension, this simple structure is found to be effective. The setup, the struggle, the solution. The setup provides the listener with context that sets the scene. The struggle describes the conflict and confrontation among the characters. The solution is the idea, strategy, or product that helps the characters overcome the struggle. If you race through the setup and struggle to get to the solution as quickly as possible, you're making a mistake. It's the struggle that really engages the audience far more than the solution. Whatever the story, the following techniques will help you tell it in a way that connects with people. Part 1. The setup. Ask your audience questions. Questions are powerful because they create a curiosity gap. For your questions to land, make sure you use the word you in them. Have you ever met? Do you know much about? Hands up if you have ever. Great for groups. Place your audience in the scene. Your goal isn't to retell. You want your audience to relive the moment with you. Place them into the scene with you to fire up their imagination. I was with a group of people. Versus, if you had been there in that group of people. Or, imagine yourself in that group of people. Make the characters relatable. Every story has characters. They could be your teammates, customers, or even competitors. To make a character relatable, compare them to someone your audience is likely to know, such as their boss, a common entrepreneur profile, or even a celebrity. Cindy is a bit like Monica from Friends, in that. Part 2. The struggle. Make the problem seem familiar. Just like comparing the characters to familiar people, you can compare the problem to something your audience is familiar with. This is why it's essential to do your homework on your investors, so you can use the information to relate to them. It's just like when you replace I and we with you. When talking about your business, there's a tendency to overuse the word I. A powerful storytelling technique is to replace I with you. For example, I saw this all the time. Versus, you see this all the time. When I spoke to other CEOs, I learned that. Versus, when you speak with other CEOs, you'll learn that. Use dialogue in the present tense. Dialogue makes people seem real, and people like to hear about other people. It also lets you take events from the past and present them in the present tense, creating a sense of urgency. I knew I had to do something. Versus, my board member looked straight at me and said, "Dave, you have to do something." Use specific details. Statistics are attributes of a sample, but in your story, you want to present real, observed values. Details about location, time, and money bring your story to life.
For example,
customers take on average 2 to 3 hours to versus James actually sat down with a stopwatch and measured how much time it took to. It took him, an expert, 2 hours and 48 minutes. Use the pregnant pause. Moments of silence allow the audience to reflect and connect with their feelings. Use a dramatic pause to emphasize the significance of a point. She came to me in tears. Pause, that's when I knew. Prompt the audience to feel. The goal of your story is to create an emotional impact, not just a logical one. At the most emotionally intense moments in your story, ask your audience to imagine how they would feel in that situation. How would you feel if you imagine what it feels like when? Part 3. The solution. Introduce the solution as a question. Before presenting your product or solution, ask the question, what if? Open the curiosity gap before you fill it. What if there were a way to? Additional suggestions. Make others come up with your idea. Exchange giving suggestions for telling stories. Use expert sayings when lacking personal experience. Keep it simple. Simple stories are more successful than complicated ones. Avoid overused words. Final points to keep in mind. As the adage goes, if it's not necessary to say, it's necessary not to say. No one appreciates a story that goes on too long, so try yours out with people you trust and get feedback. Counterintuitively, the more you rehearse, the more spontaneous you'll appear. Using these techniques will take your storytelling to the next level. They work in sales meetings, keynotes, public speaking, and team discussions. By linking your personal learning to your organizational message, you'll connect with the hearts and minds of your audience while making a powerful business point.